I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. Today is Thursday, September 14th. Another good week of fishing here for a variety of offshore species, and decent weather in the forecast this weekend, which is nice. We're also on the new moon part of the lunar cycle, which can make for some good tuna fishing, foamers, things like that for bluefin. It's also a nice stable time of year, or time in the cycle to have good offshore fishing, as opposed to around the full moon when it can be very variable. So hopefully we'll continue to have good fishing this weekend. Last weekend I fished the Balboa Angling Club Master Angler Billfish Tournament, and I wanted to go over the tournament a little bit, and it's a good example of how a trip comes together and how you make a game plan really work. Decker and I have been fishing the tournament together for, I don't know, a very long time, at least 10 years I would say, and we've been on a number of boats. And this year we got invited to go on the Real Time, which is a 65 Hatteras owned by Dave King. Beautiful boat, rigged perfectly for fishing. Especially, so marlin fishing, you want a tower that you can see from, or at least a high fly bridge. You want some outriggers and the proper rods, reels, and lures, and they had it all on the boat. Real experienced crew. They won the Master Angler Tournament in the past, quite a while back, and the boat's run by Grant Hunter, who's an excellent captain as well. So, although we never fished together, we kind of all talked ahead of time about what we wanted to do, and the plan was to try and stay as close to home as possible, and if there wasn't fish there, run a little further. So basically, tournament started on Friday morning, so we left Huntington Harbor on Thursday morning. We already had some mackerel on the boat, and there had been some marlin around Catalina, but they were then off the east end along the front. When we checked that morning's chlorophyll chart, that the area that the marlin had been had really gotten dirty, and marlin like clean water, and so the clean area started just around the isthmus and ran up off the west end of Cat. So we just ran out there and took a look around. Didn't really see a whole lot that interested us. We were there on the tide. Marlin often will bite on the slack tide, kind of like tuna come up foaming. Marlin will bite doing the same thing. I don't know what the deal is, but it's like a dinner bell for the marlin. We didn't see any at the best time of day up there, so we decided to start working our way up towards Santa Cruz Island, where we knew there was some marlin caught and were seen the previous day. So that's a pretty long run up there, so we kind of looked along the way, and one of the spots we stopped at was the 17 fathom spot, which is inside of Santa Barbara Island and up towards Anacapa. Water was off color in there. We saw the Pilikia swordfish boat working in there. Immediately knew that this is probably not really going to be the marlin zone, but as we were running, we found a swordfish which Jimmy baited, and reacted properly, but didn't really end up getting much interest other than getting Jimmy's heart rate up. You can watch that video here.
That thing is right, perfect shot. Get out there, get out there, get out there.
Perfect cast.
Turn on it, buddy.
Oh, here we go. You bit?
Yeah. Oh, he's right there. He's on it. Did you see it? My heart's going like 800 miles an hour.
Right behind us.
So as we ran up the line, we were constantly tracking water temperature and water color. And we had the SST and the chlorophyll charts to compare by, but a lot can change during the summer. You get that uphill current, moves things around. So our first jumper, probably a mile below Anacapa, but it wasn't in the best looking water. And as we got into the cleaner water and slightly warmer water off Santa Cruz on the backside there. Outside Yellow Banks, we had one knockdown on a jig, and then saw a pack of tailors that we pulled up on, but they didn't bite. So that was basically our day. That jig bite came right on the tide again. What did we do? We didn't catch anything. Well, we saw a bunch of bluefin blowing up everywhere as well.
Just throwing marlin here, watching bluefin blow up on big spots of bait. Pretty wild stuff. Going for one on marlin so far. Had a lot of fun though.
Which are, they were there Thursday and Friday, not there Saturday. But so what we learned, hey, you know, and I know a 3-day tournament is a lot different than the trips you're probably taking on your boat, but the thought process is pretty much the same. So we knew there was no fish in the dirty water. The bait is holding close to dirty water, but into clean water. That's where the bluefin and the marlin were on in that area. And the water temperature is pretty stable everywhere. So we anchored up at Smugglers tonight with a game plan to put ourselves in the last area that we saw marlin the night before, or the evening before. So get up, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever. First thing I'll do is download my SST chart, and we look at it and we see that the water is a little dirtier down on that end, and it gets cleaner up the island towards Blue Banks and the Gull Island closure. So rather than just beating up the area that we had seen fish the day before, Captain Grant angled up towards that cleaner water and paid attention to what the bait fish were doing. A lot of bait, a lot of life up there, a lot of everything. And our first jig bite was a triple. There were 2 jig fish and a drop back fish. We hooked 3. One of the jig fish came off. We got a jig fish and a bait fish out of that, which kind of oriented us to where the fish were hanging in relation to the fathom curves coming off the island. Some of them were really shallow, like 500 feet of water. Others, but they were hanging right on that edge where all the bait and everything was. Over the course of the day, we I don't know how many troll fish. We probably 4 or 5 troll fish, and either 5 or 4 bait fish that we hooked. And we lost another one later today that came off, but we ended up going 7 for 9 on marlin, which is really good considering not everybody got them really good up there. And what we figured out that day, and what Grant figured out, and this is something that we noticed from the cockpit without it, you know, any verbal communication, is that there was a certain tack where the troll jigs would get bit, and there was a certain tack where they would spot marlin tailing down the island. A lot of tailors around, a lot of feeders, but those fish weren't really biting all that great on day 2. On day 1 they bit. I think our friends on the bullpen had 6 fish, all on baits cast off the bow. They didn't have trolling rods out. They were just running around looking for tailing fish or feeders. But that pattern that we worked, it's a very important thing. So we figured out where they are. We figured out what they're biting, how they're moving, how to find them. It was pretty windy. So, you know, when the wind blows, the marlin they call it tailing because their tail comes up and they swim downwind. And so Grant was able to figure it out to be able to properly box an area while having the right boat angle heading out away from the island to get the bites in the jig, or actually to see the marlin tailing that we might cast on, and then when he would angle in towards the island, he would have it on a line that would get a jig bite if there was a marlin around. So it worked out really good. And day 2, everything shifted again. Definitely a different day. We had a low pressure moving in from the hurricane offshore. There might have been a part of it. Definitely different weather day, different feel altogether. And we didn't really have anything all morning, 1 knockdown. And then right on the tide, we saw a pack of tailors. Jimmy found them in the glasses. Looked like 1 or 2, and ended up being, I think, 6. And 3 guys cast off the bow, 3 guys hooked them. Jimmy got his fish in about a minute. And then the other 2 fish jumped all over each other and ended up breaking them off. But that was the excitement on the tide. We went back to catching nothing. And then, when the wind got up in the afternoon, we found more tailors, but they were obviously not biting. We're just running with them and casting on them for 10 minutes or more. Probably fell them a half mile. And figured out that's a waste of time, so we went back to trolling and got our 7th fish for the tournament, our 9th fish for the tournament, 2nd for the day, and that was enough to win the tournament, which was a really nice thing. And I really appreciate fishing on a boat like the Real Time, when you can leave Santa Cruz Island at 6:15 and be back in the slip at Newport Harbor just after 9 p.m. It's not a bad deal at all, especially when you're not paying for gas. But that trip up there, we saw the normal components of what goes on up there at this time of year. Often bluefin, swordfish, marlin, all that stuff. The guys that live up in the 805 there, they have a really good resource up there to take advantage of. But yeah, so basically in a nutshell, do some homework wherever you're going. Analyze conditions when you get out in the water and make a determination of what you're going to do, instead of just saying, I'm going to stay here even though I don't see anything, or I'm going to drive somewhere else with no plan. Make that plan. Be aware of what's happening with the water temperature, water color, where there's life, where there's not, and then you can take that information, and once you catch a fish, you'll know what to do again. And if something changes, to be flexible. Like things change between day 1 and day 2. It may change between the morning and the afternoon or trip you're on, whatever. Just be aware when your pattern is ended and try and figure something else out. So that's just some tips about that. And talking about figuring some stuff out, I got an email from one of my viewers. His name's Safe, I think it's pronounced. I hope I'm saying it right. But he went out of Dana Point on his boat and ran down the beach towards Oceanside, where there had been those tuning along that fathom curve, and he saw some bait and birds but no fish. So he ran out, I think he said, to the 209, 312, looked around there, never saw anything. And so on the tide, I guess, he ran back into where he saw that bait and birds, and he found bluefin up foaming. They're doing the stuff that they normally do, where not all the foamers are tight and right where they're going to bite your lure, and he noticed that. But then he got a couple casts with surface iron on the right kind of foamers, and said they were 100+ pound fish.
Bando, get it safe. Ooh. Double hookup.
And unluckily, they lost them both, which is all, what do you got to do? You cast a lure at a big fish that size, it's not always a 100% deal you're going to get it. Yeah, that bluefin's still around along the beach, and there's a lot more yellowfin in that as well. I talked today to Shannon from Solutions, who fished on the beach this morning and had 3 nice yellowfin and was home by noon, I think, just out there messing around, half-day trip or something. Another one of my viewers, Jacob, went on to blackfish, took my advice, went on to blackfish today, a really good time. They got a lot of yellowfin. I've been talking to Mitch, and he's really been doing well. Some days they're getting those big bluefin. Other days they're getting nice yellowfin. The yellowfin bites are real rippers. Not just hanging a fish on a troll or a kite. It's every bait's getting bit, the whole boat's bent, limit style fishing. A lot of fun, especially on a 6-pack or 4-pack boat where you're not dealing with 35 other people. And not to say I wouldn't go on a sport boat if you want to go fishing, but if you have an opportunity to do it, I'd advise going on one of the smaller operations. It's a lot better deal. The Thunderbird, all those sport boats are up here. Freedom, I think, they're all getting on the yellowfin and bluefin as well. Seems like there's a lot more yellowfin up here than there are bluefin. I know that there's a ton of bluefin up the Channel Islands. We saw them for miles foaming. And even some of the guys, one of the guys that fished the Masters cast on a tailing marlin and had a 180-pound bluefin or something eat his mackerel on 30-pound on a 9-foot marlin casting rod, which he had to fight without using a rail or any help. So that's quite the nightmare in my book. But yeah, if you're down in San Diego, the boats down there are getting fish as well. I think the best volume of fish is up here in U.S. waters. But I know the full day boats out of San Diego, like the San Diego, are getting them on as well. But then again, they could very easily run up to the same areas that the 3/4 day boats that have Newport are fishing, as it's along the beach. But Yeah, we're getting to that time of year where there's not that much boat traffic around, but there is a lot of fish out there. And from what I've seen over the last few trips, and especially over this last trip, that these fish are in very specific areas and very predictable if you know what to look for. You're looking for that water color change, water temperature change that's related to some piece of structure, be it a fathom curve, be it a ridge, be it a bank. And then when you get into that area, you're looking for that signs of life, the bait, the birds, dolphins, whales, sea lions, whatever. It's that's up of the Channel Islands, up off Yellow Banks there. It was as far as you look in every direction, sea lions, birds, dolphins, rizzos, everything, all in one big pile. Marlin, tuna, everything right there. Swordfish. Second day of the tournament, the swordfish guys were harpooning swordfish right in the middle of the marlin trolling fleet. This is really wild. But yeah, good time of year to go fishing. Good weather this weekend. I don't know what I'm going to do. I pulled the calf muscle pretty bad while leadering Decker's marlin, which was coming up a little too hot, like a 150 pounder. And that's one of the things that I forgot to mention. There's a big marlin up there right now. I think we had one that was probably close to 200 pounds. Yeah, so I tore the calf muscle, and I've been limping around, but I'm going to try and fish somewhere this weekend. I can always wedge myself against my seat of my boat and fish. So that's that. And I got War Heroes on Water the following week. So a couple more exciting weeks of fishing going on for me, and I hope you have a couple good weeks of fishing as well. So good luck if you fish this weekend. I'll see you next week.